This is one of my trigger board trainings. You guys have seen me post some of a lot of different posts about your triggers, about patterns, and it's so important for you to understand that we all have triggers. We didn't learn that. We only learned that triggers were something that came from situations that were extremely traumatic. And most of us have experienced traumatic situations. But there are subtle triggers, triggers that have developed from when the relationships that we had when we were growing up. And I categorize those growing up relationships, the relationships in our home, the relationships that we had at school, the relationships that we had at church or our spiritual organization, and the relationships that we had in our neighborhoods. And so those had impacts. And, even you and siblings can respond differently to the same type of situations, the same type of relationships. And so it's subtle and it becomes really important for you to learn and discover what are your triggers? Why are they there? And then you can begin to own and master them. And I call it trigger board, and I call it trigger board because we all think about a vision board. And how many times have you developed a vision board and worked on it? And maybe even 2 weeks after January, it's like it's just somewhere else. So it's a trigger board, and it's a trigger board because all that great work, all those ideas to accomplish your success goals, whether it's writing a book, writing that course, writing that keynote, or whatever your legacy builder is, and you all need to have a legacy builder. I have a career. You have a career. I don't promote quitting your job, but you also need a legacy builder because we can't leave our careers to our legacy, but we can leave our legacy builders. Okay. All right. Trigger board training series. This is a trigger board training series, and I make sure that you do subscribe to my brand new YouTube channel, Mindshift Wealth Life Balance. I know we weren't able to um, go live from YouTube like I hoped, but this will be on a playlist. We're developing a playlist for the Trigger Word series, and there's also going to be a playlist for the quarter 1 countdown. You've got to be working on your quarter 1 countdown, and you won't be able to do that until you really know what success goals you want for the quarter 1, for the first quarter of 2026. And you won't be able to accomplish those unless you step in, make the decision to step in, to stop letting triggers steal your success goals. So hopefully you can see the screen. And if I had another device with me, I would be checking to make sure that we can see it. But hey, we're going to keep it moving. For those of you that don't know, I'm Coach Gwen Davis-Yancey. I am an accomplished family law attorney, practiced family law for more than 25 years, as well as estate planning. So I know something about relationships. I know something about the triggers that not only I experienced in my own life and in my own career, but also the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients that I met with, that I represented, that I coached, their commonalities. And that's why triggers is so important to me, because I had to go through my trigger journey, and I'm still going through it, because you never get rid of your triggers, but you can identify them, shift them, own them, and master them. So really, when it comes to your success goals, there's 4 major steps. The first is identify and shift triggers. You've got to know what triggers you. And you've got to understand that all triggers are not negative. All triggers don't impact you in a negative way. Some of them are promoters. And when you can identify the triggers that actually promote you, that get you excited, that get you motivated, that get you driven, then you can channel those. We didn't learn that there are actually triggers that can motivate us. We only learned about, like I said, the traumatic triggers. So we didn't learn that there's subtle triggers that can negatively impact us, steal our ability to really have the clarity, the confidence, and the consistency to accomplish our goals. But on the other hand, there are positive triggers. Those that, like I said, can motivate you, can give you drive, can get you excited. And you want to be able to identify those so that you can shift them for when you need them. And then step two, own and master your triggers. Don't hide. If there's some things that you know kind of step in the way of your success, don't hide from them. Own them so that you can master them. That way you're in control of those triggers and they're not in control of you. A lot of times people will say, "Oh, I couldn't help it," or "He made me," or "She made me." No, you did. And when you can identify and shift, own and master those triggers, then you can be the decision maker as to how that trigger is going to cause you to react. Because you hear people say you may not be able to control a thought that comes into your mind, but you can control how you respond to that thought. Okay, step three, your wealth life venues, your wealth life balance venues. I believe that there are basically five main wealth venues that your life rotates around. And one of the things that become important is for you to identify where these triggers are showing up and how they're showing up. Because you could have a trigger that impacts you totally different depending on what venue. It's just like if you go to an event, you may still have a little hesitancy or self-doubt as part of the triggers that cause you to not have as much confidence, right? But if you go to an event in which you know the people, the majority of the people, your response and your confidence level is going to be different than it would be if you went to an event and you don't hardly know anybody there. Okay? So you can have the same type of triggers that that result in different ways that you present yourself. So you have your spiritual wealth, your social wealth, your health wealth, your time freedom wealth, and your financial wealth. So how you feel about yourself can show up in the relationships, which is your social wealth, relationships, friendships, sibling relationships. All relationships are not just intimate relationships. They're all the interactions that you have with people, including coworker. And you've heard me say before, most of us spend more time at work than we do in the relationships, with our families. So you've got to know how these triggers, promoters and blockers, how they show up in your actual life. I want you to put hashtag life in the comments, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this on the replay, because you want to know how you really are in different environments so that you can make the changes that you may need to make so that you can accomplish your goals and triggers will stop trying to steal your success goals. Okay. And ultimately, you want a happy, wealthy, driven lifestyle, right? So you want to ask yourself the question, is the decision that you're thinking about making, is the action that you're thinking about responding, is it going to increase your happiness? Is it going to increase your wealth? Is it going to increase your drive? And if it isn't, maybe it's time to be silent. Maybe it's time to pause. And so these are some of the things that become very important so that triggers don't steal your success goals. All right. All right. So we talked a bit about identifying shift triggers and that there are negative and positive trigger patterns. And so one of the things that I do when I work with my clients, I help you identify patterns. I did a video yesterday, part of the quarter one countdown, and I talked about how patterns we were taught. We had different questions about patterns. If you have young kids or grandkids, they probably have workbooks or questions that have something to do with recognizing patterns. But it's like we become adults and all of a sudden patterns are not important, but they are critical. Your patterns are critical to you accomplishing your success goals, to the clarity that you have, the confidence that you have, and the ability to develop that legacy builder that you've dreamed about, that vision that you've dreamed about, and just having a happy, wealthy, driven lifestyle. So you want to be able to identify and shift triggers, but it starts with identifying. And you got to realize triggers are not necessarily, we're not talking about the triggers from traumatic experiences, because many times those are the triggers that need to be dealt with a therapist. Um, you may have some specialized coaches that deal with certain types of triggers from those traumatic situations. But I'm talking about those subtle ones. Those ones that you can't figure out. Why is it every time you get to a certain point, it's like hitting a brick wall? It took me a while to figure that out. Like, what the heck? I know I have a lot of capabilities, and I know you do too. You've got degrees, you've got certifications, you've got career expertise, but it seems like you keep hitting that brick wall. And then like I said, you got to own and master those triggers. You can't be afraid to talk about them, even if you initially are going to talk about it to yourself in the mirror. But when you begin to build your legacy builder, whatever it is, that book, that course, that keynote speech, because they really all go together, whichever one you need to work on first, or maybe it's a different legacy builder. But you need to be able to talk about it. Because I tell people, you've probably heard me say before, your wealth room is your gold mine. Whatever some of those triggers are, they may be exactly what you're supposed to start with to help somebody else transform as you're transforming, or that you have already transformed from. Because they always talk about purpose and pain. Sometimes that pain that you went through is exactly what you're supposed to be helping somebody else transform through. So you want to be able to own and master your triggers, whether they're negative or positive. Because when they're positive, then you're going to be able to say, okay, I know what to do when I don't feel as much energy, when it's raining outside and I feel like just putting the covers over and staying in the bed. But yet, there's some things that you want to do and that you need to do. And then our wealth life venues. How do these triggers show up in your actual life? You've seen me post a lot, and I talk about your life, your career, and your legacy builder goals. They go together. They go together. your career, with your life. They're not separate. And so we've got to stop trying to act like they go in separate boxes. Because when we allow them to integrate, when we understand that whatever is impacting us is going to impact us at home, at work, at the restaurant, everywhere, then as we begin to identify and shift triggers, own and master triggers, we can command how those triggers show up in all your different wealth venues, because they are wealth venues. Your wealth is not just money. It's the wisdom to know how to navigate the areas in your life, your thoughts, your words, your emotions, your energy, and your actions. That is wealth. And they're all surrounded and impacted within these different wealth life balance venues. It's going to determine how well you take care of yourself. It's going to determine how you interact with people at work, how you interact with people outside of work, how you interact at home, how you feel when you look at yourself in the mirror, how you feel when you hear your recorded voice. Do you know I used to I want you all to put voice #voice in the comments. Put #voice in the comments if there has either been a time in the past or currently you've heard your voice recorded. You know, you heard a recording of you talking. And the first thing that popped into your mind was, "Ooh, I sound funny," or "I sound like that." Put #voice, because how we view our voice is going to impact how we view and present ourselves in different areas, at our jobs, at home, everywhere. How we value ourselves. You hear me talk about the 3 V's: voice, value, visibility. So you want to be able to know how you present yourself, how these triggers impact in the different wealth life venues. And that's my intellectual property, by the way. And see, when you are able to create your legacy builder, then you have the opportunity to potentially have and develop your intellectual property, have it registered with the United States trademark and copyright. And so the happy, wealthy, driven, you heard me say, you want to be able to accomplish your goals, your success goals. And I said earlier, ask yourself this question quickly, quickly, quickly. Is this going to increase my happiness? Is this going to increase my drive? Is this going to increase my wealth? Whatever kind of wealth it is. And then decide how you're going to respond. Your life will change when you start thinking of things differently. Because the goal is, who doesn't want a happy, wealthy, driven lifestyle? If you don't, then, you need to tune me out, because I am on a mission for a happy, wealthy, driven lifestyle on an ongoing basis. And that doesn't mean everything is going to be happy and everything is going to be great, but it does mean that I own and master how I respond. And that's what I want from you, to be able to own and master how you respond in the different areas of your life, so that you get the best out of even a bad situation. And the best just might be being silent, taking time to breathe, not adding additional stress to the situation. I want to introduce you all to the pattern personalities. This is part of my trademark, because you got to know where you are. And I'm going to tell you, I've been a stalled visionary. I've been an invisible expert. I've been an over responsible achiever. I've been a burnt out high performer in different times of my life. And sometimes it can be week by week, month by month, quarter by quarter. You've got to know where you're at right now so that you know how to begin to move forward. Because there's just certain things that impact us in a certain way. And when we understand more about ourselves and where we're at right now, then you know, like I said, you want to identify and shift those triggers, positive and negative. You want to own and master them. You want to know how they show up in your wealth life balance venues. And you want to do what's necessary so that you have a happy, wealthy driven lifestyle. And so where are you at? And I'm super excited because I actually developed a quiz. So stalled visionary. Stalled visionary just in general, and the quiz is going to go into depth. But in general, you often feel like you're standing at the edge of something meaningful, but you're unsure how to step fully into it. Sometimes a stalled visionary, because trust me, I've been there. Sometimes a stalled visionary, you get bombarded with ideas because you are a visionary. You get incredible ideas. And then it's like you get this idea and then, oh, okay, let me work on that. And it may have similarities to what you've been working on, but now you're just pulled in all these different directions and not accomplishing any of them. So maybe you're a stalled visionary. Maybe you're an invisible expert. You often feel confident internally, but hesitant externally. You know your stuff. But when you want to bring it out as part of your legacy builder, you're hesitant. You're wondering, well, who's going to really listen to me? Who's going to really receive me? It impacts your voice, your value, your visibility. I want you to put hashtag pattern personalities if you find this interesting. Because I'm going to tell you, when you begin to discover what you're working with right now, the who that you're working with, the who in you that you're working with, it's a game changer. And you may have a bit of more than one of these patterns, but you want to know which is the dominant one right now so that you know how to begin to navigate it. And that's part of the beauties of the quiz. What about the over responsible achiever? The over responsible achiever, sometimes you often feel like the person that other people count on to help them, but you feel uneasy trying to get help yourself or focusing on yourself. You don't know what that looks like. You don't know what that feels like. You're the responsible one growing up. You're the responsible one. You're always giving the ideas. You're always helping out at work. But there's nobody doing that for you. And when it comes to you trying to build your legacy builder, you're hesitant because you're not used to people helping you. And we all need help. I tell people, you can't build something by yourself. You can't build something by yourself. You can rebuild yourself, but even that you need help doing. And then the fourth pattern personality is the burnt out high performer. You often feel used to push through, but find yourself creating cycles of overwork, exhaustion that negatively impacts your clarity and your long term consistency. And so you're wondering, I keep doing this work, I keep pushing forward, but I'm not getting the results. And so it's so important to know where you are because otherwise triggers will continue to steal your success goals. And you don't want that. You didn't work this hard. You have all this expertise that you've developed as part of your career. And now you want to build something in addition to your career, that legacy builder. And you can do that without quitting your job. You can write that book without quitting your job. You can write that course, build that course without quitting your job. You can create and write that keynote presentation without quitting your job. And they all go together. I help clients determine which one do you work on now. As you go through, begin to unmask these triggers and own and master them. So where are you right now? Are you a stalled visionary? Are you an invisible expert? Are you an over responsible achiever? Are you more a burnt out high performer? Know where you're at, the who in you, know where you're at so that you can know and determine, okay, these are some of the things that I need to do because each personality has a different process. Each dominant personality has a different process. And so, what I want you to do is, I want you to put hashtag quiz in the comments so that you can take the quiz and you can discover what is your most dominant trigger pattern personality right now. And it's going to give you some insight so that you know, okay, this is where I'm at right now. These are some of the things that I need to shift right now, and I need help doing it. So there's next steps available as well. So I'm super excited about the quiz. There's two versions. So just put hashtag quiz in the comments and we'll make sure you get the link. And be sure to tune in for the next TriggerBOARD training series because 2026 and each year after is not going to be the same for me. And I don't want it to be the same for you. TriggerBOARD, not vision board. Put that in put hashtag TriggerBOARD, not vision board in the comments. And if you caught this on replay, put hashtag replay. All right, I try to condense this training so that you can catch them during your lunch. Hopefully next time I'm ready to be able to have it live on YouTube. So definitely subscribe to my brand new YouTube channel. I started from scratch because my 2026 is not going to be the same as any other year. And I don't want it to be the same for you either. So I started a brand new YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe to my brand new YouTube channel, Mind Shift Wealth Life Balance. And we are going to learn together how to get everything that we can get from our success goals, from our life, from our career, from our legacy builder, and absolutely live a happy, wealthy, driven lifestyle. I'm Coach Gwen. Thanks so much for joining me. This is TriggerBOARD training number 1. Look for the next training and put quiz in the comments so that I can get you the link to the quiz. You can also send me a DM as well. I'm Coach Quinn. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you soon.